Good evening and welcome to another of our Terroir Talks, where we interview winemakers from around South America. Today I'm speaking to Cristian Vallejo, who is the winemaker at Viña VIK in Chile. And he's a winemaker with some incredible experience, not only around Chile, but also in Europe. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him about how he's kind of working on the VIK estate and the winemaking innovations too. This is all in the lead up to launching the South America Wine Guide, which is rolling off the printer next week. So I'll be bringing more information about that. And hopefully you'll be able to play back and watch this video if you can't follow us for the hour today. And we'll also have the tasting notes uploaded online very soon. So I'm just waiting for Cristian, hopefully, to join me from VIK in the gorgeous Milewe region of Cachapoal. Let me see if I can find him. There he is. And we're going to be tasting two wines with him tonight, both of which are delicious red blends that I've already been tasting. Cristian, hello!
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Very
Good to
well.
see you.
Nice to see you and nice to see your beautiful estate. What a fabulous place to be doing this video.
Thank you very much. I have the winery just behind me. I'm in the restaurant of the winery. Today is closed because of the pandemic, but we will start very soon.
It looks absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to get back there, and the weather looks fabulous. How has the autumn been in Chile? It's been quite a different vintage for you, hasn't it?
Well, it has been different because of the conditions in terms of the pandemic, but last year was almost the same. So in that issue, it's we are used to. It's the second one with this safety procedures with COVID and all that. But in terms of the year, it has been a fantastic year, amazing year, one of the best that I've seen in my winemaking life, which is short. No, in 25 years, probably one of the best. Very fresh, very dynamic, full of flavor, elegant, beautiful color. The tannins are amazing, so crisp, tension, so beautiful. And today we have a very shiny day for you.
Excellent. I'm so glad. It's so nice to see. It's making me want to get straight to your hotel and gorgeous winery. Do you know when the hotel and everything should be opening up, or is that still kind of in the air?
Well, we know that the government has been changing every area. We go to lockdown, quarantine, and then we open, then we go down again to lockdown again. So we opened it in September last year. And it was fantastic because everybody from Chile, from Santiago, they came here to relax, to forget about 2 or 3 days, to have the big experience. And it was fantastic till February when we start the lockdown again. So now the staff is in vacation, waiting for to reopen again. But finally, last year was I mean, with some some restrictions, but still a lot of people coming and visiting us.
Super. Well, I've been
Chile.
there before, and I definitely recommend it for anyone who hasn't visited. Put it on the top of the hit list for when we're allowed to travel. So we're gonna talk for about 45 minutes or so about the estate at VIK, about your kind of work in the vineyard and also the winery. But I wanted to start asking about your experience, because you've worked in different regions in Chile too, but you also worked in Bordeaux, in Spain, in Italy. Can you tell me a bit about what was the most kind of interesting experience for you in Europe and how you've been able to reapply it at VIK?
Well, in Europe was fantastic. I also worked in Napa. My idea was to learn from every culture and how they look the wine, how they make the wine, how they, they really involve wine in life. So I went to France 4 times, Chateau Margaux in 2003, Chateau Léoville-Poix-Ferret in 2004, Chateau Berliquet in Saint-Emilion in 2005, then Chateau Le Croc. So I did Medoc from Premier Grand Cru to Bordeaux Classé and Saint-Emilion. Then Italy in the very north area, in the Trento area, and Alto Adige, a lot of Pinot Grigio, some varieties just from there, like Lagrange, Teroldego, very special varieties, and very interesting, fantastic. And then in Spain, I worked in La Conca de Barbera in the winery Clos Mont Blanc. Well, in all of them, I met beautiful friends, but I learned different things from every culture. For example, in France, mainly in Chateau Margaux, that experience was fantastic because there I met Monsieur Pontalier at that time. Beautiful person, amazing winemaker, and he loves to teach. So I learned how to work the tannins in the winery, and also how to work the vineyard and how to make wine in the fields during the year. And that is part of my philosophy now, to make wine, and our philosophy to make wine here in VIK. And then Italy, I went there to learn how to get that beautiful perfume in the wine. You know, sometimes the Italian wines are not that, they're not about structure in wine like in Bordeaux. They're more about the perfume, the aromas, that beautiful perfume. So I went there to learn all about that. From Spain, I learned a little bit more the tradition to make wine. And from Napa, well, at that time I was making Zinfandel, so I went there to learn about Zinfandel. I was the only winemaker making Zinfandel in Terra Mater at that time. But also I learned a lot how to use the technology as a tool to help you in the winemaking, because winemaking is more about, you know, sensations, but technology and knowledge help you as a tool to take decisions. So for example, I still have some pump over device here that I bring it from Napa in 1999. So wow. 22 years.
Excellent. Super. So tell me about this philosophy of kind of making your wine first in a vineyard, because VIK, you're in an incredible place. And so I'd love to kind of know, first of all, I'd like you to give us an overview of the terroir of Melewe and its influences. And then we can start looking at what you do in the vineyard. So your estate is enormous, and it's 4,000, I wrote it down, 4,450 hectares, but out of that you only planted 327. So can you tell me a bit about how you kind of selected the plots, a bit about the terroir, a 101 on VIK Vineyard?
Yes, well, it's a big property. In fact, it's bigger than Pomerol in Bordeaux. But the good thing of that is that we have 6 valleys inside, and we have 327 hectares planted between these 6 valleys. Maybe I can move and show a little bit the valleys. Well, we are pioneers in this area. We are in Miyawe denomination of origin, which means the golden place. The native people that they used to live here for a long time ago, they call it the golden place. Miya, gold, where place, because there was a big lake at the end of the valley, and there was full of fish, mastodons, fruit, trees, all that they need at that time. No iPhones, but they have beautiful food. So they call it the golden place. And we are pioneers making high-end wines here, or the first one making wines also. And what is special from this terroir is that we are very close to the ocean. So we have a beautiful influence of that breeze that comes from the ocean. In fact, now we can feel it. I will walk a little bit there and I will show you. And that breeze refreshed 3 valleys. And that cools down the area, and that helped me to have beautiful, vibrant aromas and perfume and beautiful natural acidity. And that give me a style a little bit more leaner, more kind of Bordeaux, Medoc style, like between Margaux and Saint-Julien. And that give us the style of this wine, our main wine, VIK. And then we have another 3 valleys that they are more protected from this wind. In all of them, we have a bunch of quantity of different soils and different altitudes and all that. But in those 3, we have 1 more degree Celsius. So that gave me another style of wine, a little bit more New World, very elegant too, but a little bit more volume in the middle mouth. So that give us the chance to have this La Puvelle, a more New World style wine, based on Carmener, and these three valleys give me another sensation in the mouthfeel. So that's the beautiful part of this terroir. And when we realize this amazing complexity of this terroir, we decide to go with different style of wines and also to work to have this wine from the fields. You know, I spent probably more time in the fields than in the winery, and to making wines.
I imagine I was thinking about your harvest, because even though you've just got one vineyard, it must be rather long, or especially this year, because it was such a kind of extended season with all your different plots and exposures and soil. What is your window between making your rosé and, you know, your last harvest?
Well,
how long did it take
we
you?
are just yes, this terroir is an amazing terroir for reds, and so that's why we don't have white wine. But we start to think about the rosé because we have this beautiful, magnificent breeze coming from the ocean, and the idea was to honor that beautiful breeze with this fresh rosé, and with some complexity in terms of the mouthfeel, in order to give some creaminess also, and to make it for pairing food. And so we start with the rosé at the beginning of March. So normally I harvest it 2 or 3 weeks before the ripeness for reds, in order to keep that freshness in terms of the acidity and the aromas. We press very gently the grapes, very fast, so 2 hours of contact with the skin. So in that way, we color, and then we vinify the wine as a white wine, like a Sauvignon Blanc, 10 degrees Celsius, very, very low temperature. So it's a very long fermentation in order to keep that freshness, those aromas. At the end of the fermentation, we go up with the temperature like a Chardonnay to give more creaminess to the mouthfeel. And then at the end, we do 5-7% of the wine goes to barrels to give some fume aspect. So we start at the beginning of March, and we finish. I will show you here, just a second. So,
oh wow, yeah,
there, that's the Carmener.
Beautiful.
Still some grapes there. So we will start in a few days with this Carmener. That valley over there.
You still haven't picked your Carmener yet.
Yes, that's it. Everybody in the winery over there is working. So you know, that Carmener is still there, hanging, waiting for the right moment to go into the winery. That valley is one of the valleys behind this hill here. You see that hill? Yeah. Behind that hill, we have another valley. So when I said valley, we have like this one, you know, hills both sides and a creek in the middle. And then I will show you here where the wind comes in, which is from the ocean here.
So I love looking at Carmener at this time of year, when they've picked, when the leaves have gone the gorgeous flaming red. It's such a unique variety to look at.
Yeah, all that is Carmener. That's why it's red leaf. Will be Cabernet Sauvignon, and the leaf are now yellow. So behind me, that area is where the wind comes from the ocean and refresh the valley. So at that side, it's more the big style, and this side here is more La Puvelle style. This
excellent,
one behind
amazing.
You see that hill?
Yeah, so, perfect. Thank you. So would you say that the kind of climate influence there, obviously we're in the kind of Entre Cordilleras region of Chile, and would you say the influence is much more, the maritime breezes are more important than any mountain influence in your region?
Yes, we are more close to the ocean. So we are in the limit with coastal the coast and the Entre Cordilleras. So at the other side of that, those hills that I show you is Costa or coastal, and this side is Entre Cordillera. So we are just in the middle. The hill is the. We have this beautiful wind coming from Pichilemu, and that helps a lot to have this beautiful freshness in our wine.
Excellent. Pichilemu being the top surf spot of Chile. Wonderful. So we're going to move through. I want to talk a bit about the different varieties that you work with and also how you work with them in the vineyard. So can you tell us about what you have planted principally, your main grape varieties? And also, can you tell me a bit about your work in the vineyard? I don't know if your internet, if Christian's internet has been blown away by the coastal wind, unless it's mine. Okay, well, I'm going to restart this. I'm going to save this video so that we can watch it in 2 parts, and I'll restart it and invite Christian back in. Oh, hold on. Maybe he can maybe he can join back in. Grab a glass of wine, everyone. I've already got I'm on my La Puibelle first, which is absolutely delicious.
Okay.
You're back.
I'm back. I'm
right.
sorry. I walk a little bit and well, the Wi-Fi doesn't follow me.
Yeah, we're going to have to sit still.
Sorry about that.
So I was saying, can you tell us about the vineyard? Tell us about the varieties that you have planted. First of all, which varieties, grape varieties?
Well, we have 5 varieties here, mainly Cabernet Sauvignon. Talking about the vineyard is 50%. Then we have 30% Carmener and 10% Cabernet Franc, and the rest is Syrah and Merlot. Excellent.
And how do you treat those differently in the vineyard? Is there any kind of approach that's quite different between the varieties?
Yes. For example, I will give you an example that shows the dedication and how we work differently. Depends on the varieties. You know that Cabernet Franc for us is really important in our blends. It's present in the Rosé, in the Vic, in Viña VIK, and helps a lot in terms of the elegant tannins, the tension, and the minerality in the flavor. And you know what? That we have to, for example, for the green harvest in Cabernet Franc, we cut the shoulders and the tail to concentrate the flavor in the middle of the bunch. So some people goes like, Christian, you're crazy, but you can imagine the quantity of work to cut the shoulders and the tail in the bunch.
So what point, at which stage do you do this then? When you've already gone through Verizon or before?
A little bit before the Verizon. I will show you a picture. A little bit before the Verizon, because you need to don't have a sugar. So before the Verizon, when the berries are green, like a bean, you do this work. And in that way, you avoid to have any sugar that give it to that some possibility to the fungus to get in. And so you have to do it that way. So we do 4 green harvest. The first one is when we select the shoots. Then the second one is when we let 1 bunch per cane. Till there, for the 5 of them, is the same thing. Then before Syrah and Merlot, which are big bunches, we cut the shoulder and the tail. And then again, during the will be all the time late. Even that after the Verizon will be red, they are late, you know. So then you don't know which one it is. So before to
hopefully we won't lose him this time. We're traveling quite some distance from England to the heart of Chilean wine country. So I don't blame Instagram for taking its time. More excuse to keep drinking my delicious wine. This is incredible what he's telling us about the cutting of the bunches. I've never heard of a winery doing this. I'd be interested if anyone else has heard of a winery that does this, but it sounds like quite the labor of love. And I can't wait to get the rest of the story. You're back.
I'm back. Today has been difficult with the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry. Imagine that we are in between the hills here. Some few kilometers between London and England and Viña VIK. So I'm sorry about that.
No, it's incredible really that we're able to do this. But I want to get to the end of your story about your cutting of the heads and shoulders and what you do after that.
Yeah. I will show you a picture here. I have it because nobody. It's hard to show this is amazing. So
and
look at this.
Where did you learn this technique, or how did you decide to start doing this?
Well, you know that do you know who did this all the time? The people that grows grape for table grapes. So look at this picture. You see the bunch there.
Yes.
The shoulder and the tail is red. It's green. In the middle, it's red. So this is the beginning of the variation, and this is the best example that the bunch doesn't get ripe at the same time. So all those berries on the top and in the shoulder, and also the one in the tail, they will also get ripe later than the middle of the bunch, even that they are red. So that's why if you take them out, you will be sure that all the rest will be ripe at the same time.
Fascinating. And you do that with the Cabernet Franc and the Merlot, did you say?
Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Syrah, because the three of them are big, very big bunches, or in some way big bunches. So it's good to do that, but it's a lot of work. So we work on details here.
Absolutely, but it's worth it for you in terms of the kind of you're looking to get that very kind of symmetrical ripening throughout the bunch. That's the purpose.
Yes. Same thing with the something else that it's also in the same way is the rootstock that we are using. We are 100% rootstock, even that in Chile we don't need it. We don't have phylloxera in Chile, but I have more than 62 different type of soils here. So we have 6 different rootstock. So imagine a parcel, let's say this terrace here. So when you plant it directly, some of the plants in this corner will grow a little different from that corner over there. So at the moment of the harvest, you taste these grapes and they could be a little bit different in terms of flavor of the other corner. So to avoid that differences, when you use rootstock, they are more close. So it's your decision depends on what you want, not to get the balance between the one that it's green and the one that it's ready, or because in that way you have to wait one to go more ripe and the other one green. So in this way you have all those details make the difference.
And it sounds like this was not only does this sound like a huge headache for you each year, but it must have been quite an incredible planning mission in order to kind of plan all these different plots and rootstocks and vines. How long did the vineyard take to plant?
Well, our first vineyard was in 2007. When I arrived, I have to tell you that I met the family here at the property, and there was no winery, no hotel, no vineyard. So we started this since the beginning. So I have a lot of stories to tell you when we were building this, the hotel, everything. And 2007 was the first year that we planted 168 hectares in 1 year. And it takes to just plant it like 3 months between the wires and everything, and plant the irrigation system, like 3 months.
That's quick for 160 hectares.
Yes, we were running since the beginning here.
It sounds like you must have a secret army back there. Okay, let's start with the first wine. So this is La Puelle. And can you tell me a bit about, before we talk about the wine, obviously this has the most beautiful bottle. So can you tell me about the art? Because Vic obviously is one of the most incredible hotels to visit for the art, and the winery too for the incredible sculpture we can see behind you. Can you tell me about the art that inspires this bottle?
Well, you know that this started with the family. I have to say that Alex and Carrie Vick, they love art, they love hospitality and wine. So they have been involved with art for a long time. And when they decide to create these retreats, let's say in Uruguay, they have three: Estancia, Playa Vic, Bahia Vic. Now in Italy, Galleria Vic Milano, in the central area, the downtown of Milan,
Nice.
and Vic Chile. So all the retreats or the hotels are about art. So when every room has art, could be, in this case in Chile, could be a Chilean artist or artists from all over the world. There one room, the artist is Japanese, Takeo Nawasawa. I spent two months with him while he was painting, and it was a very beautiful experience because the first week was talking about the wines, the project, our philosophy to work, holism, and now when you go to that room, part of the art is a paint with leaf of Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, Merlot, and he select one by one the leaf that he wants, Japanese. So you can imagine, one by one, perfectly, he painted in the wall, and then he used the leaf to create the green color. It's amazing. And when you share with artists like this, and they tell you about their story, imagine that this guy was the champion in Asia of Thailand box.
Really?
And then after that, he started
Wow.
to develop and his art, and now it's one of the most famous in Japan. So every room has a story with the art. All the furnitures are winner of design. The bathroom could be the same artist or another artist. And the story is that in the 2015, when before to launch the hotel, the family came, Alex and Carrie, and they check every room if everything was like they wanted. So there was, I don't know how many books, but I remember that Carrie has books with each room. 3 pages, one was the art, second the furniture, and the third the bathroom. So the last version, they came with that, and they check every room. When they get into the Gonzalo Cienfuegos room, which is a Chilean artist, they go in. One of the piece of art is 3 bottles, Magnum paint, and one of those bottles is this one. So they go in, Carrie goes in, she grabbed this bottle. She says, wow, this is the most beautiful. And then became the idea of La Pubelle, the most beautiful, and to use this piece of art for this wine, which is more New World style.
Yeah.
And this is really a very new idea, right? So then the challenge was how to make this this label. At the beginning, there was no technology here to do it, so we have to bring the labels from Taiwan. But now that was 1 year, so now it's here, so it's easier. But the idea was from the hotel in 2015, even that the wine is 2011, we were working on the label, but then suddenly they have this idea, and they connect art with the wine and hospitality, the 3 passions.
Excellent. That is a beautiful story, and it's a beautiful wine. And I'd like to tell if you can talk us through the wine, because for me, I'm really enjoying tasting this and also tasting the differences with the Vic in terms of the profile of the fruit is so different. So can you tell us a bit about La Puelle and how you kind of came up with the concept of this blend?
Well, La Puelle, it's mainly about Carmener and Syrah. New World varieties, especially Carmener, which is the new variety in Chile since 1994. The flagship has been always Cabernet Sauvignon, but the new one that everybody talks about Chile, Carmener. You know, it's like Zinfandel, Napa. It's like, you know, Malbec, Argentina. The idea was to create from these valleys, which are a little bit more warm, this New World style. We knew that but we didn't know the name on the label at that time. So we start to create a wine with these three valleys, with very elegant wine, beautiful round and soft tannins that when they go into your mouth, they use the whole space. They get open and they use the whole space without heaviness.
Yeah.
You have those round tannins moving all around, even that creamy aspect without heaviness. And so you can drink 1, 2, 3 glasses, and always you have different aromas, black fruit like blackberry. You have also spicy flavors from Carmener. You have also flowers from the Syrah. It's a very unique wine that shows you different aspects from this valley that I told you, that I show you here with the Carmener and that hill on the top. The Syrah is there. So the idea was to create this new world style wine based on Carmener and Syrah, but it has also Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is the structure. For me, it's kind of when you construct, you build your house, you need steels, right? So you
framework.
make.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so it's like, I have some friends that they love cars, so they say it's like the cars, they have like the backbone, and then they put all inside. Was the same thing with the Cabernet Sauvignon. Carmener gives this beautiful aspect of blackberries, spicy flavors, pepper, and Syrah gives that flower, violet, lavender, also. The Syrah give me that sensation of blue colors, so it goes perfect with the label of this wine. Nice. So that's La Pivelle. It's 35% Carmener, 10% Syrah, 15% Syrah, and then 50% Cabernet Sauvignon.
Excellent. Yeah, I love the kind of fleshiness and the really soft, approachable fruit that it has. But then it's got that nice spice behind it, which kind of keeps it really quite lively and interesting. And I adore the kind of Carmenere of Chile. I think it's something that's so unique, and it's really nice to kind of see it sing through in this wine. Can you tell me a bit about the way that you treat these different wine varieties, these different grape varieties in the winery? So we had a question here about your approach to Carmenere, for example. Are you someone who likes to harvest quite early? Do you like to harvest quite late? What is your kind of winemaking with Carmenere?
Well, in general, what I always look in the tannins when I go out and taste the grapes is to have that tannin that it's ripe. That means soft, but still you have to have some juicy flavor in the aromas and a nice, beautiful, natural acidity. So in that way, the wine is still vibrant. In the case of the Carmener, it takes longer to get there. It's a variety that needs more time. So when we harvest, what I look always is the tannins. You have to have ripe tannins, very soft, but not overripe. When you go overripe, you will have jammy flavors, and then the wine turns to be heavy. It's just the moment. That's why it's so important, that click. So that's why I spend so much time tasting grapes during the harvest. In fact, during the year, I don't eat any grapes. and enough with the quantity that I taste during the summer. I
imagine.
So that click is very important. So that's why I do tours every day tasting grapes, and when that click happens, we go in and we harvest during the night. I have to tell you that we harvest during the night. In our holistic concept, is really important to be sustainable. So I like to have cold maceration at the beginning to extract the color and the aromas. That's what I learned from my friends in Italy, and I need the juice and the skin at 10 degrees Celsius. So when you harvest during the day, the grapes arrive at 25 degrees. So you have to cool them down. We avoid that to spend that quantity for energy. So we harvest during the night. You know that in Chile, during the night, you have 8 degrees Celsius. So we start at 1 a.m. And so when the grapes arrive to the winery, they're naturally 10 degrees Celsius. So we don't have to spend energy. So that's the sustainability concept.
Excellent. And is this, do you have to machine harvest or do you have people hand harvesting at 1 a.m.?
Well, no, we do everything by hand in little cases. There's a beautiful video in our website that you can check. People, they have a light here and they walk through. Yes, they walk through the vineyard and they harvest the grapes, still by hand. So we have to look to the future. Probably in some more few years, it won't be possible. But today, still, we can do it.
Excellent. Super. Fabulous. Okay, so that's La Poubelle. Should we move on to talk about Vic and kind of the differences there in terms of what you're approaching with this blend? Because, you know, this is such a different kind of style of wine completely. And if you have a story about the bottle and the logo, that would be great too, because it's such an iconic image is Vic.
Yes. Well, you know that it took also some time to finally found the label that we were looking for. In fact, this idea came from the family again. So here it says Vic, right? But if you remember that I show you our valleys, the second reading of the label is the hills and the valley. Okay, it's a very minimalistic way to show the hills and then the valley, you know, the creek in the middle. So that's the label. So this wine, everything was made to create this wine. And the idea was to make this wine with 5 varieties. That's why we planted it, all of them in the different areas. Depending on the microclimate, we choose the variety. Depending on the soil, we choose the groups, the rootstock. And but then we realized that we have these 3 valleys where the temperature was lower and 3 valleys where the temperature was higher. So then we decided to have these 2 different styles. But still, Vic has to be 5 varieties. But in 2012, and we are tasting the 2013 now, I realized that
I'm on the 14 actually.
You're on the 14. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Sorry for that. Yes, you're in the 14, which is part of the new path. In the 12, I realized that the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Cabernet Franc from this cool area were giving us that aspect that I was looking for, that leaner aspect, very beautiful length, long, with very, very vibrant tannins, round at the same time. That it's a train of tannins going in. They open a little bit, and they use the space, and then this train come back and it finished very long. A beautiful acidity that makes you watering here. You feel the tension in the tannins, but at the same time, it's soft and round. It has layers and layers of flavors and aromas. It's a wine that it's really complex but easy to read. I always said easy to read because I love to say that Vic is a book. Every glass is a chapter, every sip is a page. It's a wine that tells you a story, tells you about our passion about making wine, our terroir. And when you're tasting the wine or eating with this wine, it's a story that it's happening. It's your brain get crazy trying to reach the flavors and invite you to the next glass, and hopefully the next bottle.
Excellent. And I love this wine. So this 214 vintage, perhaps you can tell me about the vintage, but I love the more savory notes that this has. And as you said, I think it shows that this is from a cooler part of the valley. It's much more, darker in its fruit and has a much kind of leaner kind of texture and profile to it, which makes me think this is something that will age really, really well. And obviously, 2014 is already 8 years old almost, or 7 years old, but it's still very vibrant and youthful. So I'd love to know a bit more about this vintage in particular. And you said that this is part of the new path. So what's changed in the winemaking of Vic?
Well, in terms of the path, in the 12th, I realized this about Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. So in the 13, and that's why I start with the 13, because it's the change. I took out the Syrah. And Cabernet Sauvignon used to be 50%, and I went 67%, and this is the 13. and 17% Cabernet Franc when normally we had kind of 6%. And I found more this linear aspect that I was looking for. And in the 14s, I went a little bit beyond, and I took out also the Merlot.
Okay.
And the 2014 is the only one with 3 varieties, mainly Cabernet Sauvignon, 72%, then Cabernet Franc, and 10% Carmener. Because that year, the 14 was really hot, and hot during March. So we start to harvest earlier, and for that freshness, some of the Carmener that it was in that area give me that freshness that I need at that time. So that's why I keep 10% of the Carmener, and that's why I also said that depends on the year, I will use it or not, or I will use more or less. The 14, I call it the path. I normally give names to the different vintages. The 13 is the change, because we really make this change in the philosophy. The 14 is the path, because the 15, now it's, since the 15 big has been Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. So the 14 is the only one in transition. So that's why it's the path to this change, to found finally this amazing style, leaner, elegant, layers of flavor, complexity, but easy to read, you know. This is what we were looking for.
Super, fabulous. And I'd love to know for people who have, you know, an idea of Bordeaux in their mind, how would you compare your Vic to the kind of different regions of Bordeaux? What kind of style do you think it's perhaps more similar to? Or would you say that, you know, it's completely different? And also having worked in Napa, so thinking of the kind of famous Bordeaux blends of the world, Napa, Bordeaux, where do you kind of place Vic in terms stylistically?
Well, we are, first I have to say we are a Chilean wine. The style of our wine sometimes is more connected to Bordeaux or Medoc style. For example, La Puvelle is more connected to New World and more connected to what you expect from Chile, right? But Vic is a little bit more in the Bordeaux style. Being Chilean, that means beautiful, bright color and deep, beautiful fruit in the nose, and soft tannins. But I like what you said, that you see that the 14 is still alive and has a lot of, you can keep it for a long time. So it's a wine that it has that freshness, that tension, that you can keep that wine for a very long time. I would love to bring here, or we can taste a wine from 1990, but I don't have that story. we're so young. But what is telling the wine is what you said. You know, it's a wine that's still alive. Imagine that wine is almost 100% new oak, and you don't feel the oak. And the description, you said everything, but the oak. Some people mention oak when you mention oak. I mean, if I said oak, yes, and then it comes up the idea. But so it's showing that aspect that you can keep the wine for a long time. So I'm really connected to Margaux, Saint Julien, Saint Estèphe, because I worked there. I have fantastic friends there. I can tell you a lot of stories from there. I met beautiful people. I met also Michel Roland in Leoville-Poiferret, Marcelo Pelleretti from Argentina. Yeah. We are very good friends. He works a lot with Michel Roland. I met him there in Poiferret also.
I was Marcelo's English teacher for many years.
Really? Well, yeah. We are very good friends. You know that we met there when I was 2004 working there for the family Cuvelier. They are the owner of Leoville-Poiferret. Yeah. He came with Michel Roland, and we met there in the chateau. We spent the night, you know, tasting wines, and there's a beautiful story there about that. You know, the family. We were having dinner, and they start to make a kind of a game. You know, the Didier Cuvelier, the owner, brings 10 different years of Leoville-Poiferret. So me and Marcelo, we were, you know, from Chile and Argentina, so we don't have that experience. But they start to say which year has to be. And I have to say that Monsieur Roland, he said all the years, and he didn't miss anyone. Incredible. Wow. I never see something like nice. That. That's a beautiful nose.
It's impressive. We're going to have to test you with your Vic years blind one day.
Yes. Well, next time you came to Chile, we can do that. You know, we can have a
Excellent.
vertical, and we can do that. That will be funny. Yeah, let's do that. And so I always relate that in Vic we have that beautiful, elegant tannins from Margaux, with that tension that you have in San Julian, and sometimes in Santa Steph. But also you have that deepness that you find in Napa or in Chile, in California or in Chile. And also that fruit, that beautiful color.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of both. So I think this is a wine that is really complex because of that. You have the style, but also you have the recognition or the personality of the region. So that's big.
Beautifully described. Thank you for that, Cristian. That was really wonderful. Okay, so I want to talk about your innovations in the cellar because we've only got about 10 minutes left. So I want to know all about your amphores and your barroirs. And can you tell us a bit about this? Because you're doing some, I mean, not only are you crazy in the vineyard in terms of topping heads and shoulders, you're also crazy in the winery. So tell me a bit about the idea of how your amphoras came out and what's so different about them.
Well, you know, in this time being here, every year I know more about this terroir. The 2018 was the year that pushed me to try to found these projects. The idea started in that harvest, the 2018 till now is the most expressive harvest in terms of the freshness of the fruit. The tannins were ripe and soft. So after 11 years, we planted it in 2007. After 11 years, the vineyard was showing the personality, the real personality of each one. So that's why I call it the personality. And that makes me think, how can I make this wine 100% from here? Because this wine, the one thing that is not from us, the barrels, which is really important because that helped me with the microoxygenation. That's the most important thing for me. Microoxygenation helps you to get the tannins together and soft in the time when you have that crianza, that time in the barrel, more than the flavor. And so I start to think, how can I get that microoxygenation from us? So that's why I start to think in amphoras. Amphoras, there's a lot of wineries using amphoras. Amphoras, we were using amphoras for a very old time, like from the Romans or before that. So we're not the first one. But what I tried to do was, and what we did, was to find a spot in the property where we can get the clay to make the amphoras. So all our amphoras that we have now, we made it with our own clay. So the pour that we have in that amphora, it's unique, it's from us. So that microoxygenation that we have there now, it's 100% Vic microoxygenation, you know what I mean? So that's why it was crazy, because I found a amphora maker. He used to work in another area in Chile. I bring him here, so I take him out of comfort zone. We look for the clay. We look at with the sticks like you look for water. We look for the clay. Finally, we found that spot that I remembered during the 2008 when we were planting. I remember a spot under a spring that was very clayly. So we went there. He loves the clay. We dig 8 meters deep. I send the clay to his warehouse, and he started to make the amphoras for us. So I don't know if you see, but there on this side.
Oh, I can just see them. Yeah, I can see them in the background.
Those three are the three first one. The thing is that he made the amphoras. He worked with the clay as he used to, but this wasn't the clay that he was used to. So when he took it from the oven, these three, they get broke on the bottom. So I bring it here just to show them. It's not possible to have wine in there. So the first three, they get broke, but then he changed a little bit the process to take them out. And now I have 18 in the winery, and there are 17 more coming this year. So that was the way to give some microoxygenation naturally from us to the wine. And then the second question was, well, if I don't have to take the barrels out, how can I make the barrels from us? So The idea was, I knew that we have oak trees on the top of the hills. They are very old, more than 100 years. In fact, there are no people here that, the oldest people here, they remembered those trees for a very long time, and they heard about it from their grandfathers. So nobody knows exactly the time. I bring the French guys here. We analyzed the oak, and it was oak. So what we are doing is all the trees that they already fall down because of the nature, wind, whatever, took them to the winery. We cut them in little pieces like this big. Sorry.
Yeah. I imagine your barrels are a bit,
yeah.
bigger.
And we use them to toast the barrel. So what I'm doing, I select the staves for the barrels in France. They send me the staves in pallet. We make the barrels like Chateau Margaux do, or in other chateaus, they make their own barrels.
You have your own tonnellerie, you have your own barrel. Wow,
yes,
amazing.
We bring the machines, everything, so we can make 5 per day. So we bring the oak from France, we make the barrel, and we toast the barrels with our own oak. So then the barrels became in some way also from us.
Excellent. And what is the kind of different taste? So if you're comparing, I mean, obviously that's hard to compare because you've got so many different French barrels that you have, but is there a distinctive kind of taste to your Vic barrels?
Well, what we are doing is that we worked a lot the toast, how many minutes and how we do it. So what I want is to be very respectful with the flavor of the terroir. So we are doing very short toasting. So the wines from those barrels, even that the oak come from France, the toasting is very mild. So it's really, the aspect of the wine is really fresh. So the tannins of the oak give tension to the wine, but there are no, let's say, coffee or mocha flavors or chocolate, that kind of flavors, all of them out. So that keeps the wine a little bit more about the terroir flavor.
Excellent, fabulous, absolutely fascinating. And what my last thing, because I know we have to finish very soon, but you know, I think my last question you've really answered, but it was this concept of Vic making holistic wine and being a holistic winery. And I think all this kind of detail to attention and this use of kind of your local materials is really proving that. But if you'd like to kind of give us the kind of last word on Vic as a holistic winery, it'd be great to know what that concept is.
Well, you know, the good thing of this was that we once we start to work together, and the idea was to create this wine very elegant to compete with the best in the world. And so the question was what we have to do to be there. And we knew that we were a young winery starting in 2007. So what we have to do to be there quick. So we started to think about every detail. First, the terroir is a very special terroir. Second, how we manage the vineyard, very high density, like in Bordeaux, 10,000 plants per hectare, 100% rootstock. And then we pay attention in every detail. Let's say sustainability, the roof of this winery, let us work without turning any lights on. Also keep the temperature mild. So in summer, if I have to cool down a tank, I don't have to fight with the temperature outside. It's just inside, so I spend less energy. The other side, we have the water mirror, so we cool down the barrel warehouse without using energy. And then in the fields, if we work, if we have to spray, we spray organic product based on citric or trichoderma. In the winery, no intervention. I like to make wines with no intervention. Wild yeast, no addings, no findings, no filtration. The roundness of the tannin is when we harvest, how we make the pump overs. I have an example. When I was working with Monsieur Pontalier in Margaux, he always tell me, I always ask him how he get those beautiful tannins. So he gave me this example, and I never forget about this. Cristian, this is so simple. Look at this. You have 2 cups of tea, no matter which brand it is. 2 cups of tea, you put 2 bags inside. One, you're hurry. So what you do, you take it with the spoon, you make it, you extract very fast, and the other one, you let it there. Which one would be more bitter?
obviously the one that you've been.
So simple. So we are doing a lot of pump over, very soft, short time to extract only the good flavor. And so we were paying attention in every detail. So then we realized that the work, or the philosophy to work, was the same as holism. Holism is come from Aristotle, and says that the whole is more than the sum of each part, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the whole for us, our wine. So everything that we do is for this, and the expression of all that is big. So then we realized that what we were doing was an holistic approach, because we were taking care about every detail for the final goal, which is the wine.
Excellent. Fabulous. What a great interview. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed speaking to you and finding out all about the kind of concept of it. The wines are tasting delicious, and I can't wait to see some of your new vintages, and also taste some of the wines in your amphoirs and bauoirs. So thank you so much for your time, Cristian. Best of luck with the rest of the vintage. And I hope you,
thank you very much.
Put your feet up soon.
Thank you very much. It was a magnific conversation. In the future, the near future, if you come to Chile, you will be more than welcome here. We already have the tasting of the different years blind. So
absolutely. Going to start prepping for that. And cheers. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us, and cheers to everyone, and have a nice evening. Cheers, Cristian. Bye. Thank you.